Hi everyone, so I'm going to make a card, and this one's quite a special card. So it's an anniversary card for my husband. Tomorrow we'll have been married 3 years. I don't know where that time has gone, and yes, I am leaving it till the last minute. So 3 years is leather, so I've got a piece of leather here. Now this was yellow. I've put some alcohol ink onto it at the moment. I've put a bit of blue onto it. I'm going to probably do another layer, in fact, and show you the process of doing that. So I've got one layer dry there already, and then I've got some papers. Now these papers have actually come from the papercraft Ladylike collection. Despite the name, I think these are absolutely fine for a masculine card. My husband is a huge fan of blue, probably more, a darker blue than this, usually a royal blue or a navy blue, but either way, blue, a black in there for contrast. I've got some distressing in there because, of course, I want the card to be my style at the end of the day. So I'm going to really be making this in front of you. I've only roughly planned what I'm going to do, and that's about it. So I'll be making this up as I go along, thinking about it. You'll see my thought process. You'll see lots of different techniques. I've got my die cutting machine here. So let's get started. So the first thing I know I want to do is have, so this is a 7x7 card base, and these are 6x6 or 6, I think they're 6.5, yeah, 6.5 paper pads. In fact, I'll show you the paper pad, it's really pretty. You can see the Ladylike collection there. It's got the pinks and the mint greens in. It's got some die cuts in the back, but these papers are absolutely stunning. So I could have used a grey if I wanted a more muted effect. There's like a green newsprint in here, so you don't have to, of course, go with the very feminine look with these. So this has just got some script on it, so that's going to go down first, and then I'm going to have this one down on top. So I just need to mark and cut this with a pencil so it's a little bit smaller. So not too precise either. I'm going to distress the edges of pretty much everything. So one there, a little mark there. Okay, so I've got my border, the border that I want all the way around these two, and then I've just marked those two corners rather than having to cut 4 different edges. I'll just bring in my trimmer. 1, 2. Now I can see already they are not even, so I'm just going to cut a little more off of the first one. Hopefully that will be more even. So what I'm going to do, I said I'm about not having these perfect. I'm distressing these, so I've got my scissors, and what I'm going to do is just run along the edges with the pair of scissors, and just to ruffle up these edges a little bit. Okay, so things like this, tears like this that happen, absolutely fine. The closer you hold your paper, and so the more taut it is, the less likely you're going to get those tears. So if you don't want the tears, don't press too hard, don't go too fast, and hold it quite close. But if you like the tears, then by all means, just do it a little bit looser so they come along. You can't really make them happen either. There we go, there's one. And just random ones are quite nice. I think it adds to the distressed effect and the aged effect. There's another one, but that one, I mean, all of these you could lay flat, you can glue flat if you want to. I like to roll them back when I'm sticking this down. So we've now got a white edge around there, and then I'm going to go in with some black distress ink and just darken these edges a little. So brushing from my mat over onto the cardstock. My applicator is sort of angled at about 45-degree angle there, so it's not completely flat, and that way I know I'm not going to get this edge marking my paper. I'm just going to be catching the very edge of the paper there instead. If you have it flat, you can get circles on your paper, and we don't want that. So just ink around those tears as well as best you can, always keeping the edge of the blender that is nearest to the paper lifted up. You see there, I've just got a smudge there. That's where I went a little bit flat. So take my advice, do as I say, not as I do. There we go. So I've distressed that, and don't worry about that, we can cover that over with something or just leave it, doesn't matter too much. It's there. So that really shows up that the edge of the paper now. So I'm going to do exactly the same now with this one that we trimmed down. First of all, starting with the scissors and then going in with the ink. There we go. So now I've got two pieces of very distressed paper. Now I'm not sticking those down just yet. What I want to do is I want to have a heart in the middle here and cut through the layers with then the black cardstock here behind it. So I'm going to draw a heart, and I'm not going to do a perfectly even heart. This is going to be one where one edge is going to come up taller than another. So it's going to be a bit of a lopsided one, and I've done this in pencil so I can sort of play with the sizing and the shape a little bit, because I'm never very good at hearts. Is one thing I've never been very good at. I've got an eraser on the end here so I can play with them. There we go. So I've got the heart there. I'm quite happy with the shape of that. So what I'm going to do is bring in a craft knife. I don't know if I need to replace the blade on this. I haven't done so lately, but I'm just going to roughly cut this heart out. Like I say, it doesn't have to be perfect because it's supposed to sort of have this hand-drawn effect. There. Great. Okay, yeah, I'm happy enough with that. So what I'm next going to do is place down my paper. Now making sure that my script underneath is the right direction, not going up and down. Making sure that any of my tears are fairly evenly spaced as well. So I've got one here, one here, one here, not many over this side. So I might just flip this over. I'm going to put one down the bottom here, space them out a little bit better. And then I'm going to go back around the inside of this heart with a pencil, just keeping a few millimetres in, maybe up to sort of 1/2 centimetre. So we're starting to layer up there. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to take my craft knife and I'm going to go around that pencil line. Don't worry about erasing the pencil line at the moment. We can do some inking and things to get rid of all of that. Try to stay quite close to the pencil line here though, because of course you want it to have a fairly even board all the way around. Now I'm actually moving my knife rather than moving my pencil. It really depends on the dexterity of your fingers. If you have problems moving, you might find it easier to pick up your paper and move that around instead whilst dragging the knife. If you have dies, they might be just as easy to use. So placing that on there, so I've now got that little window, that aperture there. Now we need to do the same as we've done around the edge, a more subtle version because I don't want too many tears in this. I'm going to take a slightly smaller pair of scissors. Now you don't have to use scissors if you're not confident opening a pair of scissors and holding them like this. You can actually go in with a paper distresser. There are paper distressers available. And they have a concealed blade and you just run those around the edge. You don't tend to get the larger tears with those because they are made just to distress the paper a little bit at a time and be a neater finish, as neat as distressing can get, but they are still they're a much safer option than using scissors. I've used them in the past, but I do like the what's the word? Well, it's not as uniform. The uniqueness, I'm going to think of the word in a minute. There you go, can you see I've got that rough edge, and I'm going to do the same here. Now this then makes the paper look a little more like fabric. Okay, and something I am going to be doing is actually getting the sewing machine on this card, because I think that makes it look so much more finished than paper glued together. And because I've got this sort of fabric look to the paper as well, it will work really well, especially as the 3 years is leather. So just around the edge there. Now of course we need to go in with that dark ink as well, just to pick these out. Now I'm not going to do too much on this layer because it's going to be against black, so I'm just going to do a little bit on this layer, picking out the edge. You'll get fluffy bits coming away, that's fine. I'll do more on this layer, and you can see now that actually all the pencil lines have completely disappeared. We'll want that laying down flat. There we go. So I'm going to bring this back for a moment to there. So that looks lovely, but what I'm going to do is pop this black behind that heart. So cut yourself a panel that you think will fit. I've just done that freehand. Of course you can measure behind there. There, great. So now the next stage is to do some stitching on here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm not actually going to stitch all the way through the 4 layers of card, including the base. All I'm going to do is stitch through the top 2 and stitch those together. I'll stitch around the edge first, and then I'll probably do around the edge with a zigzag stitch, and then I'll go round the centre with just a line stitch there. So I'll just move to my sewing machine and we'll see me do that. Now before I go ahead and stitch these, I'm going to just secure them together. I've got a little bit of red line tape, double-sided tape, a little bit of wet glue or something would work well there, just to hold the 2 layers together so that they don't move around. So I'm just going to be carefully placing. I'm aiming more at the heart being even. The edges you can roll and you can distress some more if you need to. There we go. So that's about in the middle, and I'm going to work around the heart first in that that straight stitch. So just making sure that the stitch length isn't too short, because if it's too short it will actually it can make holes in the paper and tear it. I'm going to start around here. Now my machine is electronic. I'm going to use the manual option first, just to get the needle exactly where I want it, because there we go. And I'm going to go ever so slowly, okay, because I need to be turning my paper as I work. Now I'm trying to do this so you can hopefully see what I'm doing. I do have the foot pedal. So paper. I've got one more stitch, I should think. There we go. Now I'm not worried about finishing that off, securing that. I'm actually going to leave the ends quite short, which I think is quite cute. There we go. Oops. So we've got our stitched heart there. Now we can lift up and ruffle up these edges again if we want to, and that's easy enough to do because of course that's just flattened everything out. But before I do that, I'm going to do my zigzag stitch around the edge, again keeping the stitches quite wide and quite long. So just change this to a zigzag, and then starting in the middle, because this is a straight line, I can go a bit faster with this one. So there I've got my stitching around the edge. I need to just lift up the edges a little bit because of course they've been flattened by the foot of the sewing machine. So just run your finger along between them, and we need to just trim off as well the ends of the threads. But I like to, rather than knitting these up and hide them behind, I like to trim them and just leave them short. So I've put some tape behind here. I lost some of my lower thread. It ran out before I realised, and so rather than unpicking what was in there and redoing it, I've just gone ahead. I've stuck all the loops down, and then obviously added some more thread to my lower thread for this one. So, but I really like this effect. I think this is brilliant. It looks more distressed. So that's going to sit on there. Now this would be really cute for a new baby card, probably with white thread, to be honest, but I think it would look really, really sweet. And that black card is going to sit under there, and I'll put all that together in a moment. Now the next stage is coming back to this leather. As I said, 3rd anniversary, that is leather, so I'm going to actually die cut this, and I've got some Card Making Magic dies. I'm using the 3 and the R and the D just to create those letters. Now this is kind of a green at the moment because it was a yellow or very pale colour leather, and I put some alcohol ink onto it. So I'm going to do the same again, really to show you how I did it. So I've got my box of alcohol inks here. I've got, there we go, so that's the blue that I'm using. I'll just get an applicator. Now alcohol ink does kind of reactivate itself, so what I'm going to do with this is just let it, rather than blending itself, I'm just going to let it do its own thing and bleed into itself, and then I'll add some more if I need to. So it's just making sure I've got enough to cut both the 3 and the R and the D. So letting that dry on its own. As you can see, when you use the blender, if I just do a bit up here, it does lighten it out, and you're mixing it with the underneath, so it's melting it again, so you don't get that stronger colour. So I'm just leaving that for a few moments, just hover my die over and make sure I've got the space. There we go, there should be enough room there to cut the 2 pieces that I want. So I'm going to let that sit there and dry, probably for about 5 minutes. Alcohol ink doesn't really take very long at all to dry. So I think that's now dry. I've left that for about 10 minutes. So I'm just going to move the card over here and bring in my die cutting machine. Now I have got in my die cutting machine a metal shim. Usually with a metal shim, with most machines, you don't actually have to change your plate settings, so you can use them exactly the same as you would for die cutting. But the way you do the sandwich, if I just do it on the edge here, is you would pop down your die or your dies and then your material on top. Now I'm just being really careful to make sure that I've got them in the right position. Then your metal shim on top of that, and then your plate, your top plate. Now this is with a Big Shot Plus, but of course you may have a different machine. Just check the instruction manual. I'm going to run that through, and we should get, sometimes you get like a cracking noise. So, it's obviously harder. It's always going to be a little bit harder with that metal plate in. Now if you take that off and have a look, now we can see, if I just bring this in, can see that that's cut through, and hopefully you'll also be able to release it without removing the die, and that way if you've got any small pieces. So I think this one might need to go through once more, so I'm going to put that through again. If you're going to put it through again, change the orientation of it. Twist it round sort of 90 degrees to how you had it last time. That might just help some other bits to run over it a couple of times. Now with my card, what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this down flat, and then I'm going to have foam pads lifting up this layer so that I've got a little bit of a drop shadow in there. So just a wet glue to start with. This paper is absolutely beautiful. It's almost, it's got a sheen to it, so it's almost as if it's got like embossing on it. So pop that there, making sure that that's not going to be seen at all, overlapped at all, anything like that. There we go. And that's going to go over the top, so that fits perfectly. And I just need to put foam tape. Well, let's use this one. So this is a black one, which is absolutely perfect, because if you see the edges, it's just going to look like drop shadows. So again, I'm using these same scissors for everything, for sticky things, for fabric, for paper. No, it's not technically correct or what I should be doing, but I am. So I'll just buy some more. I absolutely love them, but life's too short for worrying about what scissors you're using, I think. There we go. Now, this is, I'm just going to stick that to the paper, make sure that's stuck to the paper and not to the tape. Release the foam. This is a really deep foam, so it'll have a nice deep shadow to the layers. I'm just trying to avoid the tape there to make sure it's stuck well. Put this over my card, making sure all the edges are even. There we go, so far. Now we need to come around the inside of the heart between the two layers where the stitching, the machine, actually sort of flattens some of that. So lifting it up just with my finger. You can get your pokey tool under there if you want to. There we go. Lift that up a bit more. I love that, and that's really pretty. Okay, so now I want to overlap this a little bit. I want to have the third overlapping that heart, but the black is making that fade out. So there's a solution. I'm going to get my paper pad. My desk is already looking like a mess. There it is. My paper pad. I'm going to look for another sheet of this blue. I've got all sorts in here. The same blue. And I'm going to cut the 3 and the R and the D again. There we go. So with the 3, what I'll do is I will glue it, and that will make that stand out better, a lot better. So taking my glue, I do love this Sizzix glue, to be honest. It sticks really quickly and really well. Just around the right hand side of this number. I might put it down a little bit as well, so the shadow is to the right and down slightly. So if I bring that down over to the dark, so we can see that a lot better now. I'm just going to do the same with the R and the D. We won't have a lot to grip onto here, but it will just help with that, keeping that look cohesive. We've got a bit of ink has transferred there from the alcohol ink, but off the dye. Clean your dyes up afterwards, make sure you dry them thoroughly though. Just try, oops, we need to go up and to the right. Left, I don't know my left and right, I really don't. There we go. That just makes that look happy 3rd anniversary. Do you know what? I think I might just go with 3rd anniversary. It's the anniversary that's an issue because it's such a long word. It kind of looks like it's just floating there. And wherever I put it, it's... I know what I've got. I've actually got a Brother label machine, and I'm thinking maybe I can type happy and anniversary in that. Let me have a play and I'll come back. So I decided that the happy anniversary that I die cut was a little bit too big, too long, purely because of the word anniversary. On most other cards this would be absolutely perfect. So what I've done is I've taken my Brother P-Touch cube, and this is like a label maker. So I've printed off happy anniversary Glyn, my husband's name. I'm just going to trim this down with, let's use a smaller pair of scissors. So just trim this into 3 pieces, just in the centre there. And we can go ahead and we can mat these onto some dark cardstock. So at least that way it doesn't look like they are too pale in the background. I'm also going to trim down the width of them as well. I'm happy for these to be a little bit uneven, if you like. I've got a scrap of black cardstock here that I can use. It's not a proper crafter now, lots of mess. There, I'm much happier with the placement of that, with how it's all sitting. So I can now put those pieces down. I need a thin foam tape for this, so one that's not as wide as the tape that I was using before. So I've got another one. It's black again. In fact, some of this has been damaged, so get rid of the end there. This is much thinner. I'm just going to put these on the back. But being black, we won't see the tape underneath it. Again, it's going to look a bit like a drop shadow if you do spot anything, if you hold it to the side and peer underneath the layers. Not that anyone's going to do that, but we do like a card to look as professional as possible when we're making them. So the happy is just going to sit in there. There we go. So I've got my happy anniversary. So now I can glue down my third. I'm coming in with my Sizzix glue again. Like I say, I really like this glue. So pop that on there, and then the same on the back of the R and the D. Trying to catch some of the leather and not just the paper, so I want to make sure that it's all stuck down really well. Almost wrote birthday when I was doing it with the label maker. Almost wrote happy 3rd birthday. Don't think he'd be impressed with that. Now, black for an anniversary card, you may think, well, that's a bit dark. Surely that's not right. But actually, do you know what? For a masculine card, it's got the leather in for the 3 years. It's got, it looks more masculine than one of these girly red and pink heart sort of cards. Certainly much nicer than a store-bought or a shop-bought card by far. And to be honest, at the moment here, with the pandemic, we haven't got any card shops open. We've got some in the supermarkets. They're an absolute fortune, and they're never as nice as our handmade ones. Handmade ones. We're not baking. So there we go. So I'll just pop that into an envelope. That's the card that I've made for him, and I'll let you know on my Facebook page what he thought of it when he gets it tomorrow. Okay, thanks for watching. Have a lovely day, and please don't forget to subscribe. I'll be doing a lot more videos from now on, both card making and hand lettering, and maybe some scrapbooking mixed media as well. Okay, thanks. Have a great day. Bye.